GearNetwork.com.
This is a Gear Network production.
Broadcasting worldwide on GearNetwork.com, sharing wrestling news and opinions. It's Talking Wrestling and your host, JC.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Talking Wrestling Podcast here on the Gear Radio Network. How is it going, everybody? My name is John Cimino, a.k.a. JC Money. I'm here with you, and I am here to talk wrestling. That's right, pro wrestling. And more specifically, I'm going to keep it on the local level with this episode. And this episode's probably not going to go very long, but selfishly, I wanted to get something out there to relay my love for the IWF International Wrestling Federation, and I will talk about that. But first, I must pay some bills. This podcast is sponsored by our store through Amazon using shopgear.com. That's shopgear.com, shopgere.com. If you type in that little link, it will take you right to Amazon.com. You can do all of your Amazon shopping because it'll load up your account and everything right then and there. But the difference is, if you use shopgear.com instead of Amazon.com, you are hereby telling Amazon that JC and or the Gear Network referred you, and they will reward us, by us meaning me or Gear Network, with a small percentage of each of your purchases, which goes to helping upgrade the studio. And upgrades are coming up plenty. Thank you. So first of all, thank you all of you wrestling, all of you listeners, whether or not it's, you're listening to this podcast, whether you're listening to Misguided Musings or Good Guys with Guns or Football Talk Weekly or Better Alive Than Dead, you guys, or Turnbuckle Talk. I can't forget you guys either. But, any of you guys that are listening to those podcasts and using shopgear.com, you guys helped out tremendously during the holidays, and it is richly and much appreciated. I think that's the word I'm using. I don't know. I've been battling a illness. It's been all over the place. Whether it's a stomach bug and then, migraine, and then now it's like all this chest congestion and coughing and crap. I don't really have a voice. But I will say that Friday, the 27th of January, I finally made my return to the wrestling ring for the first time in 5 years. And we all know the story about last year and how it should have happened at OSPW, and it didn't. And, with the benefit of hindsight, I could look back now and say, yeah, I probably could have gone and done that show and whatever. But there were things that were going into, and selfish reasons, like I mentioned in the last JC Money podcast, there were selfish reasons as to why I did not. And I will admit it was selfish reasoning on my end, because, that's the way that I think that shows a more adult method of thinking when it comes to these types of things. Now, IWF was a place that I wanted to work, and I think that, at one point last year, Tripp and I were supposed to wrestle at IWF, but circumstances prevented that. But the Falcos have always been good about telling me, we're going to work on getting you on a show. We're going to work on having you do something with us. Don't worry, whatever. And the opportunity arose with the Marla Hansen Memorial Royal Rumble. So a lot of people look at these Royal Rumble type matches and say, these are just throwaway matches, and these types of things are not meant to do anything other than give ticket sellers a spot on a show. Which, most Royal Rumbles or Battle Royals for these promotions kind of are that. So, the criticism was there. However, this particular one was different. And it was different because it was honoring a longtime fan and friend of professional wrestling in the Western New York area, in Marla Hansen. Now, for those that don't know Marla Hansen, Marla was very... Marla had a presence at a lot of the shows, particularly in the Buffalo area, but specifically with IWF. She was there as a camera person. She I think she ran some of the social networking. I know she ran like when IWF relaunched, I know she had an IWF Facebook group that was, I think it was in action. It was before the Facebook page kind of came out, but she was running that. She did a lot of pictures. She did a lot, and she knew who a lot of people were, and she was, and I will throw this out there, and it was verified. Marla was a fan of JC Money, and I knew Marla from my time in OSPW, and I think NEW as well. I think she started coming to those, and I know the Hansen family because they came to NEW throughout the. They knew me even before they started coming to NEW. So I think that Janine Hansen, the future Mrs. Mikey Every Night, I think she followed me and I think trolled me on LiveJournal. I think back in the day of the NWA Upstate versus NEW war. I don't really remember, but I think that was how she introduced herself to me. Was, you may remember me as the person that did said this, and I'm like, I have no idea who you are, But from there on, it was all good, with me and the Hansen family. So when Ron Falco reached out to me and told me that he wanted me to participate in this Rumble, first of all, I was honored because, again, it was honoring the late Marla Hansen. Two, I was honored because it's IWF and they're making great ground. And three, I was going to be working with Mikey Every Night, who is, for all intents and purposes, Marla's son-in-law. So, it was pretty cool. Plus, Mikey, I knew from, as I was leaving the wrestling in 2011, 2012, Mikey was kind of coming in, and he and I, we didn't, I can't say that we were like, best friends or anything like that, but it was more just, we're acquaintances or whatever. He was always good to me. I was always good to him. And, but to kind of see, his name is always popping up, different types of things that's going on. And, he did a lot of good things at OSPW. He improved his game tremendously. I believe he has a very, very large hand in Grapplers Anonymous, which is a school that's based out in Buffalo and that's producing a lot of quality talent. And, Brandon Thurston is involved with that. Mikey Every Night's involved with that. I'm sure there's some other people that I'm forgetting, but I think what I would like to do at some point during, the spring, summer, because winter sucks and I hate traveling in winter, is maybe go down to Grapplers Anonymous, if not for just a session to, warm up or whatever, then to, maybe snag an interview with Every Night and whoever to, enhance the Talking Wrestling brand, I guess. But I digress. So going to the show, I really wasn't sure what I was going to expect. I knew that there were some people there that were not a big fan of either me or not a fan of my stance on certain things like the UW stuff. Breaking Down the Wall, Tylicious and Rob Cook were there. And I wholeheartedly expected some hard feelings, more from Tylicious than from Rob Cook. So when I walked into the locker room, and I got there at, I think, like 3:30ish, with the intention of helping set up. But the goddamn kids already set everything up in the ring, so I got there early and just kind of hung out for a little bit. Then I had to leave the show, go grab my kids, you get them ready, get them fed, all that type of stuff, and take them to the babysitter for the night. Grab the wife, get in the car. I throw a little cryptic tweet / Facebook post out there saying, I'm on the road, but where to? Like I've been doing for years, teasing different types of appearances or whatever, and then never coming through with them. So a good portion of people are kind of like, they're thinking, okay, is he coming there? And then other people are like, you're full of crap, JC. You're not doing anything, whatever. And then other people just ignore me and unfollow me or whatever. But I digress. So we go in this car ride from West Irondequoit, where we dropped the kids off to, and we're headed out to Brockport. And I kept saying over and over, I'm not sure that I know what to expect with this. I don't know how I'm going to do. I've spent 5 years. 5 years. I've spent 5 years talking about well, if I get back in that ring, I'm sure I'm going to be better than 70% of the people in this company or this company or this company or whatever. And I've been saying that over and over and over and over. And I think as I was turning onto Ridge Road off of 390 to take that long Ridge Road down all the way down to the street I needed to turn on, it hit me at that point that I was like, all right, now I've got 5 years worth of talking, honestly, to the people. And now I need to back it up. Now comes the time where I have to back up what, I said at 32, 33, 34 years old. Now I'm 36 years old, feeling older and looking at it like completely different mindset, by the way, but still, I still said it because, it's marketing and people tuned in to listen to that type of stuff. But I looked at Dawn and I said, I really need to come through with this. I really need to, perform on a level that I can validate the things that I've been saying over the past 5 years. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little worried about whether or not I was going to be able to do that. So we get to the venue and Ron tells me go in through the front door. So we parked closer to the front door and the kind people at the bar buzz us in. So we get in, they point us to where we need to go. Soon as we walk into the back, I am met with smiles. I am met with a friendly atmosphere. And all of my doubts that I might have had were virtually silenced. I will say now I am completely humbled by the fact that so many people were so nice and so professional to me. And I can't not acknowledge Tylicious during this particular point. Now, I walked in and I saw him, and the first thing I thought of was, oh God, here he is. What's going to happen? Is he going to, I'm going to be professional, I know, but is the UW thing going to start? Is, what's going to happen? And truth be told, Tylicious was anything but unprofessional. He was not unprofessional at all. He said hello, we shook hands, how you doing? What's going on? Kind of went our separate ways. Okay. Rob Cook, who famously ranted against a couple of things that I've posted over the years, and his wife and myself don't agree with anything really with regards to wrestling and specifically UW, but Rob Cook and I saw each other, and it was just two old friends that haven't seen each other in a very long time, reacquainting ourselves with one another. It was wonderful. I got to, hang with the IndyCar Mafia for a little bit. And then the realization hit me that a lot of these people have not seen me wrestle. Like the entire locker room that was there, a lot of them I had either met, online or met for the first time there in person. So it was unique. It was interesting. You have people coming up to you saying, I can't wait to see you get in the ring and I can't wait to see you work live. It's like, okay, great. Pressure's on. Thank you. Then I turn around and there's Art Bailey and Sean Zimmerman. And I'm like, holy crap, this is like and then Big Cat's right there. And then Hellcat's in the back somewhere. And I'm like, this is like a WCW Slamboree, a Legends reunion kind of thing, 92, 93 when they used to do those things. So it was pretty cool seeing some old timers there that I, worked with a lot and being in the same locker room with a Big Cat and of course my buddy Mark House and Eric Eminon and those guys. It was just real cool, man. It was real cool to be a part of that. So there goes that. And you know what I'm going to do is I've been ranting for a little bit here. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. And when I come back, I'll talk about the Rumble, what led to that, and give my overall thoughts on the show, the crowd, the people there. My faith has really been restored with wrestling. So this is Talking Wrestling, talking local wrestling this week. Talking Wrestling on the Gear Radio Network. Stick around. We'll be right back. You know, I'm often asked about the logos of the show and Gear Network and everything. It comes to me, JC, where do you get the designs, the cool designs for the show and everything? And I want to tell you, I'm going to tell everybody right now, right here, you heard it here, it is Indie Card Media. Indie Card Media is a local business that specializes in making quality designs for your website or your business. Whatever you do, they can do it. If you need proof, you can look at all of our logos, or you can go to facebook.com/IndieCardMedia to see all of the designs, which include a political banner, because they've done political banners and everything. Nothing is off limits with them. Give Eric a shout at IndieCardMafia@gmail.com and he will help you bring your design to life. Tell him Gear Network sent you, and hey, he may hook you up with a little something, or at least a smile, because you heard it here. But go to IndieCard Media Facebook. Again, facebook.com/IndieCard Media. Do it now. Bring your designs to life.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mr. Gabriel Soul.
And I'm Pat G.
The G stands for gangster. And you are listening to the Turnbuckle Talk Radio Podcast, baby.
Every week live and exclusively on the Gear Network,
where we talk about indie wrestling, national wrestling, WWE, TNA, ROH, every single independent wrestling scene that we get information on, plus our opinions on such.
Find it only on the Gear Network app, iTunes, and more.
You always got to go to GearNetwork.com to tune in and listen to my voice every single week, because I know you love it. And the reason why is because you get eargasms, baby.
And if you want those eargasms, tune in every week. Otherwise, we only have one word for you.
Cyclone!
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my pants, putting suckers in fear.
This portion of the Talking Wrestling podcast is sponsored by our store through Amazon. If you visit shopgear.com, that's right, shopgere.com, it's going to take you right directly to Amazon, and you will be able to do all of your shopping as you normally would. The difference is, if you go to Amazon using shopgear.com as opposed to regular Amazon, you will be telling Amazon that we referred you, and that helps us out tremendously. Amazon kicks us back a little something to help out with production costs, which keeps this podcast that you love listening to for free, and the guests coming on, and the wrestling knowledge coming your way. Now, shopgear.com. Do that after this podcast. And now, back to the show. All right, welcome back, everybody. So we get to the Royal Rumble now, and I am entrant number 2. Mikey Every Night is entrant number 1. Nobody knows that I'm going to be entrant number 2, except for obviously everybody that's in the back now. But I did a good job of not telling anybody anything. And, you know, for those that are listening, you hear the term kayfabe. That was what the art of kayfabe was. You know, I knew well in advance that I was going to be the guy, and we just let it speculate and we let it build up. So Mikey Every Night gets introduced first. And then they say, you know, here's entrant number 2. You know, that few split seconds of silence, and then I elected to come out to 50 Cent, I Get Money, which was the walkout song I used to come out to back in 08 or 09 in NEW. So that comes on. I don't expect anybody to know who I am at this point. I then walk out, and the first 2 people that I see are Steve Earle, who's been a long-time fan and has attended the shows as long as I can remember, one of the original JC Money fans, and Janine Hansen, both with like pong, jaw dropped to the ground. You know, as far as they knew, I was never wrestling again. And out I come now, all of a sudden, in my JC Money garb, with the original theme music that I was coming out to at NEW during my big run. And then I happen to look over, and there's, you know, Shannon, who's taking pictures. She has a look on her face like, oh my God, you know. And then there's Brett Vincent, who did a very, very good job of selling the surprise element. He's got his hands on his head, and he's like, oh my God. And then the crowd starts cheering. You know, there was a lot of old timers that were in that crowd that knew who I was. So it was nice to come out there, be cheered, be welcomed back by the crowd. I take off the the ring jacket, and I have to admit I'm a little misty-eyed now because I wasn't expecting the response that I got. So I saw people sitting at a table far away, and I thought that was the table for gimmicks. So I grabbed my thing and I kind of tossed it over there. Little did I realize that was actually the ambulance people. Because now New York State Athletic Commission requires there be an ambulance on site. And they were sitting at the table. There was 3 people there. There was a stretcher there. I didn't notice it until after I had launched it. After I had launched my ring jacket to the table. And the girl that was there, ultimately, they were all very good sports about it. And I apologized as soon as the Rumble was over and I was walking back. And I said, sorry for throwing this at you. I didn't realize you guys were who you were. And they laughed about it. So they were good people and they were nice about it. But so I throw that over there and I start to make my way. And then who do I see in the crowd? Dion DeLora. Another one of the original JC Money fans that have been following me since NMW. And Dion and I, almost like immediately right there, Dion and I, we used to ride to Schenectady together. And Dion infamously and I we went from Rochester to Schenectady, New York, which is near Albany, in an hour and a half. It's a 3-hour drive. So imagine that ride. And, of course, Dion and I spent the entire time making each other laugh. And I will often credit Dion as the reason for the promo from Hell in Schenectady, because I had to cut a promo and my face hurt from laughing so hard in the car. I mean, it was just a gigantic ball-busting trip that we took out to Schenectady. And, so it was cool to see him there and see Big Steve-O and Janine and a few of the other people out there. My wife was out in the crowd and she had a big smile on her face, even though she will admit that she probably didn't. She did. There was a sort of sentimental value, I think, to that. So I get in the ring, and I've told Mikey this over and over again, but I'm going to say this publicly on a podcast. Mikey's the real. He took care of me. He says after the match, he said I took care of him, but I don't know. He was giving me way too much credit for that. But then I got, I kind of got to mix it in with him and a couple of other different people. Anthony Gaines of the Home Wreckers, or the Buffalo Club, I guess now, just not the Home Wreckers. I don't know if they're together anywhere else, but he hits hard. And, but it was good to, mix it up with him. And, then comes the moment that Tylicious starts to walk out to the ring. And I don't know if they purposely planned this or what, but, Tylicious and I caught each other's eye. I was in the ring by myself, not doing anything. He catches my eye. He looks at me. And then the people the people that know the real life, the story or the real life drama or whatever, all of a sudden I hear kind of a buzz like, uh-oh, like what's going to happen in the ring with these two now? So Tylicious slowly kind of walks into the ring, and he has a different demeanor. He had a different demeanor. Like, he kind of came out doing his flamboyant thing, and then when he caught my eye, it almost was like he morphed back into Titus Smith a bit. But he gets in the ring, we step to each other's face, have a little bit of a stare off. He tries to go in for the hug, I smack him. He gives me a couple of shots, back elbow drop. Then he does his thing when Ash kind of gets involved somehow, and Tylicious rubs his ass on Ash's face and arm or whatever. Ash is freaked out. He gets thrown over. I see the opportunity. I run over and I toss Tylicious. Very apropos for the story that people want to believe and the story that actually happened. So, but it was good to get in there. And again, Tylicious, nothing but professional. He certainly could have taken liberties on himself, and it probably could have been something more. I don't know. But Tylicious definitely was very, very professional with it, and I was going to be professional with it. There's no reason to do that, to go out there and really for what? For what? UW, as far as the personal issues with Tylicious and I were concerned of, or issues discussed now 2 years ago at this point, he and I had a private conversation and let that rest. So, if there is any particular heat with myself and Tylicious, I'm going to guess it's 100% personal. or professional rather, and it's more on the UW side of things, how I don't like that camp and whatever. Aside from that, he and I worked pretty well together, and it was cool. And then at the very end, it boiled down to me and Mikey again, and I got my fat ass up on that top rope, and I did a frog splash, and that was met very well. I didn't get as much height, but the ceiling isn't as high as I'm used to, so it's not super low like how Samurai Martial Arts was, but it's not super high for me to jump up as high as I can. But plus, I also don't think I could jump as high as I did back then until I shed a few more pounds. So, but we did a different style of ending, like teasing it a bit. I dropped the top rope, to try to short rope it so Mikey would fall over. He didn't. He hung on for dear life, and then hit me with a knee and draped my elbow across the top rope, and then clotheslined me over the top rope. And I grabbed him, and he kind of rolled over too, and it looked like it would have been a double elimination, but he caught himself, and I didn't catch myself. So he ends up winning the Marla Hansen Memorial Battle Royal Rumble, and he should have. It was really a good moment, honestly. Janine came to the ring, and as she was coming to the ring, she walks by me and says, "Thank you." And I said to her, "It was my honor." And then I gave Mikey a shout, real quick, and was like, pointed to him as if to say, good match. This was a good match. And then I head to the back and I apologize to the ambulance people for throwing my gear at them. And then I get back and I am met with just universal, praise for it. I was expecting to hear, good match, bro. Yeah, right. Okay, whatever. He's old. But, a lot of people said, you still got it. Eric came up to me, was like, you still got it. He gave me a hug. I was all sweaty and he was getting ready. He was like the next match. But he's like, I don't care. Give me a hug. You still got it. And Thomas Brewington said it was great to finally see you work live and in person. And then Mark House was like, dude, I had goosebumps. I was sitting out there for the entire thing. It was so cool to see. And Big Cat comes up to me, how do you feel? And, afterward, we, myself, Mark House, Big Cat, and Rob Cook all did a shot of Jack, a bunch of old timers, just kind of sitting there, whatever. But it felt pretty good. I felt pretty good as far as my in-ring performance was concerned. I felt good about the product itself. I've reviewed the show now, and top to bottom, the entire card, there was just a different element there. And I know you might hear this a lot, but it truly was a different element there at IWF. The crowd was incredibly hot. The matches from top to bottom were just good. They were good. And then I sat outside in the main event to watch Mark House and Sean Carr, and they tore the house down as I expected that they would. And they proved that they were deserving of the main event spot. Mark retains the title over Sean Carr, but even more than that, it was just good. And I was so very happy to be there. So to IWF, specifically you, Ron and Jordan Falco, thank you guys. Seriously, thank you guys for bringing me in and having me take part in that. And, whether or not I wrestle again, I'm going to leave that kind of up to, my camp privately and their camp. I would imagine that if I'm a betting man, I'm betting that I'm probably going to wrestle one or two more times this year. But, if it doesn't happen, at the very least, this allowed me to rewrite history. The last image anybody saw of JC Money as a competitor was me grabbing my arm, unable to continue a match, and being walked out by doctors to injury. And this here allowed me the opportunity to get back in there, prove to myself that I could still do it, prove to a bunch of other people that I could still do it, and at the same time, work with some of the newer crop that I visually saw, whether it's on YouTube or whatever, that I saw that had potential, but then got to get in there and mix it in with them. Like Anthony Gaines, Terrell Kenneth, like those guys are two guys that I can tell you right off the bat are guys that you should be looking out for going forward. Terrell Kenneth especially, he's so big and he's so athletic, and he's just got the look, and there's something about that kid that I've always liked from the beginning. The first time I saw him was in I think 2014 on a YouTube video of a student show at Kayfabe Dojo was him against Gavin Glass. Gavin Glass is another person you should look out to. And by the way, F you, Gavin Glass, for being born in 1997. Don't you even. I know you're thinking it now, and I know you're probably laughing right now. Don't you. I know I'm old. All right. Rob Cook's older. But Terrell Kenneth was just somebody I've always seen as having that potential. And I was happy that I got to, work with him a little bit, and I got to tell him that after the Rumble. And the same thing with Anthony Gaines. I got to tell him the same thing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like, those two guys are great. Mikey every night, just incredible to work with. And again, if you're in the Buffalo area, especially, Grapplers Anonymous, go there. Seriously, they're doing really, really, really good things. And then if you're in the Rochester area, of course, go to Mark's school at UPW, because they're doing good things as well. Jeremy Jensen was another guy that I had heard of, and we got to mix it up a little bit in the Rumble. He was really good, really nice person. It was just a good vibe. I can't put it over enough. I cannot put it over enough, and I should put it over as much as possible, because it's a really great product. So as far as IWF is concerned now, the next show is going to be February the 24th at Brockport Elks Lodge, keeping that momentum going. Friday, February 24th from 7 p.m. And it's, of course, the Facebook says 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., but we'll see about that. But in any event, IWF will present Adrenaline from there, the Elks Lodge. And there is 2 matches that have been announced. The first one is going to be Anthony Gaines against Jet Rebel with special referee Jonathan Ash. And then the second match that's been announced is a 4-corner IWF Heavyweight Championship match, where champion Mark House defends against challengers Sean Carr, Jordan Lennox, and Mike Skyros. Skyros, of course, the Ultimate Access Trophy winner. He could do it's very similar to Money in the Bank, but he's the Ultimate Access Trophy winner, and in fact, he teased cashing it in after Mark House defeated Sean Carr at the last IWF show. So, but at the very least, right now, fatal 4-way main event for the IWF Heavyweight Championship. Again, that is IWF Adrenaline. That is Friday, February the 24th. Tickets in advance are $15 for front row, $12 for general admission. And if you are a college student with an ID, $10. Kids 9 and under are $7. At the door, the ticket prices will be $15 for general admission, because they expect that the front row will be sold out by then, as it should be. As should all of those seats be. Definitely a real treat for pro wrestling fans. Get out there now to IWF. Support that product. Support good wrestling in the area in general. I am 100% confident that the future is in very good hands when you've got people that are working like the people that are working at IWF. So, no, I will not be part of that show. I may go there like I have been pre-show, to chit-chat and, like I have been doing. Perhaps maybe get an interview or something there. But I think that for IWF Adrenaline, I think I want to do a couple of things. Maybe give away a pair of tickets. I got to figure out how to do that. But also maybe possibly doing a IWF pregame show. Something like that, where I'm interviewing some stars. Let me mull this one over. And while I mull this one over and get rid of the rest of this illness, that's going to do it for the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to me rant about IWF and how great it was for the past half an hour or however long this winds up being. Keep supporting good independent wrestling and be on the lookout starting in March, late March. Talking Wrestling will return for its 3rd season, or 4th season. The 4th season? It's the 4th season. Holy crap. It will be the 4th season of Talking Wrestling, and that will return in late March, early April, just in time for WrestleMania. I will talk WrestleMania and stuff then, but before then, there will be an IWF special Talking Wrestling podcast. It will be based around the forthcoming show. Details on that to come. I got to iron those out. This is what happens when you think as you're speaking. But until then, this is John Smino, a.k.a. JC Money, saying so long, everybody. Good night now.
Recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.